Hello, 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 beautiful souls. Happy, happy Monday. Today is Monday, and
Yes,
we are doing Confessions of an Awakened Boss Lady. Welcome, welcome to Candice Rasa. How are you, love?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you and to just shoot the breeze and also get in deep and share all the juicy things.
I'm excited for that as well. I'm super excited that you're here. I know that we're going to be connecting in so many different directions. And I know that you're a sister that hangs out on the deep edge of the pool, the deep end of the pool. So I'm ready to go in, all in with you. And I'm excited that you're here. I want to be like so grateful for having you on here. I know we had to move things around, get us on here on Monday, but I feel like we're going to be adding so much value to all the wonderful awakened boss ladies and fempreneurs that are out there. So I
Yes,
am going to start by introducing myself and then we can go right into our question, right?
sounds great.
So, for those of you that don't know, my name is Patty Ferreira. I'm an intuitive success catalyst and priestess. I come on here in service to all the fempreneurs, all the career women, all the boss ladies that are out there waking up, woken up, awakened, woke, whatever you call it,
All the
in
things.
these times, all the things. If you're looking to get to that next level that's within you and you're searching ways in which you can grow, in which you can build, we're here to share how we have done it ourselves in our own trajectory, in our own businesses. And today I have a sister that I have walked through life with in so many ways. Like we've co created retreats, we've done different workshops together. She is my Akasha guru and soon to be Akasha teacher. So I'm excited about being on here with Candice and everything that we're going to be able to chat about. And I want us to get started right away. Can I get going with a question, Candice?
Yes, fire away. I'm ready.
So the first thing I want to know is I know we've been like in the vicinity of each other for years, but we always have an opportunity to catch up and get a feel for what's really coming up for you now in terms of your passion, your mission. What are you up to? Share a little bit around that.
Yes, thank you. So, I mean, I really feel strongly, of course, about taking the concept of the Akashic record and building that bridge to the average person so that we can really sort of share channeled information and support people in accessing their own record and information about how to kind of bust out of the karmic bonds that they're in and to live liberated lives and be their best selves. I mean, I get up every morning super excited about that. I jump, with a cape on off of any building in the name of that any day of the week. And really my life is about in different forms well, I'm sure we'll talk about that, helping people to do that, right? So right now I'm really excited about the group space and leaning that into my trainings and various groups that I'm doing to help people come together to learn about Akashic wisdom.
I love that. And I know I've experienced a lot of the ways in which you bring it forward. Like we've done group Akasha readings in my retreats, which are magical and allow everyone to feel cared for and seen and witnessed and held in a group environment, which also feels super safe. So I love hearing you say that you're into the group thing because I know that was kind of like a new way to roll when we started off years ago.
Yeah, it feels like an inevitability, right? Because it's like I haven't necessarily felt like it was ready or time to do that, but my practice is just sort of grown in that space. And the universe is basically like, you can't keep using the same wheel that you've always used. The spare tire doesn't work. You need another entirely new wheel. It's time to like grow. It's time to move. As I just can't serve everybody one-on-one, right? So much to my chagrin, which is typically how things happen, is the universe nudges me off the branch to fly a bit.
Yeah, this is powerful the way you're positioning it, because this is very much what happens to a lot of the women I speak to in my experience as coach and my support as a mentor, where
Yes.
we're very connected to our babies and the way that we've been doing things, and the baby's growing and the baby's evolving, and it needs to be cared for and nurtured in a different way. And as mama bears, we're not really ready to let it kind of go and have a different dynamic with it. So I love hearing you saying this, because we are ever changing. And that's one of the things that allows us to really remain in service, like getting out of the way and remembering who we work for is what I'm hearing and what you're sharing. And it's not the easiest thing, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's this like power of like trust and faith, right? Like
Yeah,
putting, your work in the world outside of your own will and outside of your own fear, and really into the space of love, and let that kind of organically be. And so
yeah,
I follow my feet in that way, even if I'm not willing, or my mind's not really there yet. I still follow the feet and where the
yeah.
feet are going.
Yes, the groundedness and the direction, right? I love that. All right. Well, I want to step a little bit behind the veil, get a little bit
Yes.
closer to Candice Rasa and who you are as a woman, as a
Yes.
human, as a soul. And, a lot of the ways that, one of the ways in which I do that is by asking, like, how will you finish a question that lands kind of like, if you really knew me, you would know dot dot dot. And
Yeah.
I want to get in there. What is
Yes.
it?
Yes. Well, I mean, you mentioned it earlier, right? Like I like to jump off the deep end of the pool.
Mhm.
And that's really the first thing. I feel like if you really knew me, you would know that I'm really a really serious person. I'm not a jokester. I'm not like, my husband loves to practical, jokes. And I'm always like, meh, meh, with the state of the world, but the way that the world needs love. And he's just like, holy cow, like, is it 24/7 with you, this stuff? And it is. I mean,
Oh,
I'm very critical of myself. It feels like it's never enough, right? Like I want to be doing and being and the things. I'm very deep. I'm fiercely honest. I am big thinking. I'm passionate. I have a quite an idyllic worldview of how things could be. And I think really something that most people don't know that is so deeply true about me. And when I said it to my husband today, he was like, yes, like he gave me like a strong, that is definitely you. It's I lose sleep at night over fulfilling my mission to change the world. I have a
wow.
deep desire to impart this like spiritual pathway to awaken hearts and to spread love. And I lose sleep. Like, will I do it? You know, I get emotional even talking about it. Like, I ain't leaving here. I have this like thing with God where I'm like, I'm not going anywhere until it happens.
Oh my
So,
God.
I'm up thinking about that all the time. It's truly who I am. I live, breathe, think, cook, talk about it all the time. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Listen, you are speaking to my heart, because
Yeah.
that is exactly where I live. And the way you're sharing it is a beautiful, I think, like, um, blend of what I'm about on this channel, this platform, which is why I call it the Awakened Boss Lady, because it's not so much meant to mean the spiritual, really deeply person that's in meditation or receptivity. What it's meant for me when I talk about awakened is the woman that is purpose focused, right? The woman that is asking the deep questions, the woman that is taking responsibility for her walk through life and the trajectory, right? And really stepping into ownership and no longer believing all the lies and no longer, playing small. And to hear you put it this way is like so on point. And it speaks to my heart, because I secretly think that I'm the only one staying up at night. We could have 3 a.m. calls.
Yes, yes,
Because
yeah,
I am like, and it's been such a, it doesn't feel heavy, right? We talk about staying up
cool.
at night, and
Yeah,
it may feel like we're kind of talking about struggle or going hard, and that's not the case at all. We're talking about passion and purpose and devotion and
Yes.
dedication to our devotion, and really like just allowing for grace, ease, and flows. And when it comes in, it comes in. And the other thing that I feel it's touched upon, which matters to me, is contribution,
Yes.
right? And like my human needs are, contribution and
Yes.
significance and reciprocity and giving and receiving and all these things
Yes.
that we get to bring into the new.
Yes.
So, like I feel like there's a lot of us out here
Mhm.
feeling this way. And yeah, there are other terms that could include these folks, like light worker and bridge builders and all
Sure.
those things, right? And the part about really knowing and listening to the nudge and the churning and burning is where I think we need to talk about it more. So people are like, yeah, there's a lot of us out here. Let the churning rise. Let the burning rise. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I would love to meet them because the way that I talk about the world isn't like your average water cooler or playground conversation, you know?
yeah,
Like, I don't meet moms on the playground as, they ask how you're doing. I'm like, well, I've been plotting about how I might disseminate this thing that helps awaken the world and da da da, like people don't really, in my everyday experience, want to talk about that stuff. I think I definitely feel different in that way. And it's
yeah.
nice to have, you and other awakened women in the world seeing their power in that way. I think it's new for this time in our history, but not new for our souls in terms of our journey and legacy beyond these lifetimes. But I think it's new for women as a collective to feel into their power in that way. And I personally feel really powerful in myself. And I want everyone to feel powerful. And it's sometimes, I think it's too taboo to not talk about that.
Yeah, that's how I feel as well. And the piece that you talk about in terms of power, I feel that it comes in granularly and gradually, right?
Yeah.
Both things happen in an experience. I could tell you about me, like there was a part of me that was remembering how much I'm about this and how awakened I am and how I've done it in the past, and there was this fear of what's going to happen to all the pieces of what my life is now.
Mm.
So there's the looking the other way and not really contributing to the process versus, more like backpedaling from it,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
there's that experience. And it doesn't mean that you're less awake. It just means that this is how you're dealing with being awake, right? And that's
Yeah.
why I have to make mention to it, because a lot of women could be feeling this and kind of dealing with it in different ways and not really finding their
That's right.
tribe around it. So
Yes.
it's like a huge thing, and then what I found out was like there was a karmic like bonding of it, because it was wrong in the past. Whatever lifetime I had experienced, my
Yes.
wings wide open, like, enlightenment and sharing of all the magic, my wings were clipped off. So I had taught myself to never put myself in that situation again. And it takes a
Sure.
little bit of, walking and small steps and feeling into other people. So I think one of the things that is important is to share that wherever you are is awesome. And the first step is always awareness. We're not going to tap
Yes.
into embodiment right away. And it's the precise piece of where you're at and what it looks like.
Yes. And I think the more of us that give permission for women to step into power, however they choose to define it in whatever way, and honor them and welcome them and support them and celebrate them
Yeah,
is the journey.
that is your journey. Yes, I love that. All right. Well, I think we've landed that piece really nicely. I'm looking at my questions. I want to get into the next piece
Okay.
of what we're talking about. And this is kind of where we get into what we're here to provide. Like this came to me as a desire to help women see each other and ourselves all in harder moments, in the strength that we have in our struggles, right? The breaking free that comes from a breakdown, the breakthrough that comes from a breakdown, really see herself on the other side, right? And I felt like the best way to do that is by bringing other women on here and just like, you know, like truth telling about what it looks like. And this is where we are in the question. Like, I'd love to hear from you and experience a moment, an occasion in which you felt that, you know, the floor had been pulled from underneath you. And as you look back now, you've seen the nuggets of the strength and how you showed up and how you did hard things. So what would that be for you, sister?
You know, there's two answers to this. One is a major opening in, you know, in my business growth, and the other one is right now, you know. So I think like it's important to share that those stories because they're connected. And you know, I have this habit, you know, you learn about yourself along the way. And I have this habit of making things harder than they need to be by just being used to being gritty and being used to like working hard and just kind of like just keep swimming, even if it's like the work I love. And I kind of delayed stepping into my practice full time for a while. You know, I've had the practice for many years, about a decade plus, and almost more than half of that, I just sort of stuffed it into a bag on a corner 1 day a week or 2 days a week. And there was this critical moment where I wasn't really ready to step in full time. And I was suffering so much as a result of that. I was really like just telling myself that I had to keep swimming and go to some goal that I created for myself that was arbitrary before I was going to give myself permission to step in full time. And like, I remember the way that time felt in my life. And I felt really suffocated and I felt really trapped. And I had this like moment where I was like driving to this job, you know, and I was in a powerful position. I mean, you can relate to this. You were in a very similar road in terms of like being successful in other genres of your life and stepping into really your life work in a new powerful way. And the awakening was like, I'm driving under this bridge, and if it means, and this is, I just had to go there because I had to access the place of fear that was within me, that voice that I wasn't allowing to really speak, that was holding me hostage. I had to let that voice just speak and confront it. And it was the voice that said, if you quit this job and nobody ever wants to have an Akashic session, you could live under this bridge with your family. Clearly not a reality for me. And it would be, you know, sadly it is a reality for some, but it wasn't a reality for me. But in my head, I had to let that voice come forward. And as I thought about that, I was like, okay, well, we sell our house. And what did that really mean? The bridge, right? You sell your house, you live somewhere smaller, you can, you know, you downsize. And I started like just letting that fear just run through me in practical ways. And then it just like ding, it just hit me. And it was like, well, if I do all of that, and I work at a Starbucks, and you know, as a barista, or I make paninis all day long, and then I just read Akashic sessions whenever the heck I want and live happily. I'm like, this would be a wonderful life. It would be a wonderful life. I don't need this corporate, you know, and it was a clinical job. So it was in alignment with my passions in some ways. So it was very tricky. It was like, you should like this, Candice. You should want this, but you don't. Why don't you? You know, I think a lot of times we struggle with not listening to the heart center. So when I let fear come in and just like totally ream my life out, I realized it would be a beautiful life to follow my heart, even if it meant the worst case scenario. And I just pulled the trigger and left and never turned back. And everything is really exploded since that decision. So that was a powerful moment.
That is super powerful. My God, sister, the way you put it together has just like, it has like this soft singing music on the side of it.
Yes.
Because there's so much here that's hitting like the nodal point of energy for me, right? And like I just want to dissect it a little bit. Is it okay if I kind of extract from it a little bit what I'm getting and hopefully kind of putting more information on the table for our beautiful ladies? Like, so the first thing I heard you say is it's happening right now.
It's happening again. Cue the music. Dun, dun, dun.
And it's beautiful because I have seen that in all of us. It is a collective thing. We're in the in-between, right? We're not there anymore. We're not here anymore. We're not yet there. Whatever it is, we're still in the in between. And in this moment, there's a lot of everything that no longer is, that's shedding and that's disappearing and that's
Yes.
dismantling and that's flushing through, and we're sitting here just watching it like either fall or come, and not really knowing what it means, not really, at least for me, of the how, which is always so safe, the masculine structural piece. So I get that, because I feel like that's where a lot of us are, and yet we don't know how many of us are really there. It's more of an experience of, I'm the only one that's here, everyone else has got it. So more conversations and truth telling about this piece is huge, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So
Honestly,
I love that. I love the way that you talked about giving yourself permission and allowing, because at the end of the day, though, that is what it takes, right? It
yes.
takes that type of queen move to say, this is what I desire. This is it is my birthright. This is what, like, it's a choice point, right? And no matter all the other things that we want in order to take the leap in a certain level of security, at the end of the day, it's going to require fierce giving permission and allowing yourself to experience yourself in this and see what's on the other side of it, right? Because it's such an individual experience. And I love you saying the piece about living under the bridge, because on the Tuesdays that I don't have a guest, I'm doing my seeds and stories of my awakening, which is so fun. And I'm doing them with quotes that I learned that were given to me growing up by my grandmother.
Wow, how beautiful.
She would always talk about, well, we can go live under the bridge, like it was like her last saying. It was like her way of saying F it,
Yes. Yes.
That was how she would say it. It would be like, oh, F it. There's always living under the bridge. And it would be like her thing, like do it with fear. So I love hearing you say that. And then the other piece that I feel that is super powerful about what you shared and what guided you to making the decision is when you said you just looked at what was satisfying and fulfilling.
Yes.
You weren't looking at what paid the bills. You weren't looking at what, where, if there was a contract for a certain amount of time with security. Like, you weren't looking at the typical things that we've been conditioned to look at for safety. You were looking at satisfaction and fulfillment. I didn't even hear so much like purpose in there. You were looking at, and sometimes satisfaction and fulfillment is what guides us to purpose.
That's right. I mean, the Akasha talks about how the heart center is the GPS to your own higher self. And so you have to listen to the heart. And it was this amazing thing. Like when I actually visualized myself living this worst case scenario, and all I could get from it was this joy, this joy from the worst case scenario. I was like, I could do this. Like if we're under a bridge and I'm, making French fries sometimes, like I'm still doing the Akashic record. I got nobody on my back and I own my own power. Like, amen, aho to that. So I think it was like getting into the fear suit. You just got to wear the fear suit and sort of let the waves crash and feel the things. And it took that to make that decision in my life, for sure.
Yes. So often. And that's what is like landing so deeply. I want to kind of take a minute and really share a little bit, like, what the Akasha record is, just really quickly, because I feel that there's certain women that follow me that may not know what it is, and it's a way of serving them. And the Akashic record has been so powerful in my life and my connection to divine, and the way that I started this spiritual path for myself with you. And it's also what brought me closer to my mom when she passed, right? So it served so many things for me that I feel we get to share it with others. So share a little bit in your words what this is and how it could help. I know it's in the bio, but I think it's good to feel the transition.
The Akashic record is a spiritual field of information, almost like a library or the internet, that we can tap into, that houses information from all of our lifetimes and all of our ancestry. It holds the legacy and the patterns of what is. And so we have this unique birthright opportunity to engage that wisdom and look at our life from a bird's eye point of view, to be able to see us and our journey, from our karmic contracts to our purpose, to our gifts and talents, to our relationships. And the information is just powerful. It comes in with deep, deep love and a sense of, I find that people feel, and I feel so seen when I can, access information on the record. It offers this vantage point and shifting point for all of us to look at where we're really headed, and really believe that we're connected. We're connected to something larger, that we aren't just here to get up every day and pay the bills and do the things and bump our head on the same wall. There's a reason for that. There's a karmic explanation. There's a purpose in that pain. There's alchemy wanting to be born. The Akasha talks about all of that in a very direct but very loving way.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm not that technical about my experience with the Akasha. So, like, what I could say about my experience with the Akasha is that I have really understood through this dynamic and this dialogue with the Akashic records that life is genuinely happening for me. And it has given me, which was a saying that I would just like roll the eyes at when people would say stuff like that, like, oh, there's a reason. And it's like, you would really get under my skin when I would hear things like that, because I would be like, what's the how? And let's just do it and get out of my face and let's go. And,
Yes.
And I felt I've really been able to understand it from a practical perspective, not just the philosophical perspective.
Yes.
With my relationship, and then the other piece that I love about, having the dialogue with the Akashic record is that I feel like, and this may be totally wrong, but I feel like it always meets me where I am.
Yes.
Like, I don't feel like I'm drinking from a water hose, or I'm being told something that I'm not really ready to digest yet. And that piece feels like so nurturing and so, like you said, loving and caring, and just enough of a bite that I can handle, right? And
I think it's beautifully said, Patty. It's beautifully said. And I know, yes, I mean, it's, and sometimes I'll have these sessions with folks and they'll be like, you didn't say that before. And they're like, she's like, if you said that before, I would have totally not been ready to hear that. But now I'm ready to hear it. And she's like, how did you know that? I'm like, I don't know. They just know. They know what to say, when to say. And I find that there's just also this really beautiful information is just ahead, just slightly ahead of what you believe is possible, just slightly ahead, so that you reach in and you expand out. And it's there's this challenging, loving way. And it's like, here's what could, or here's what is, in a way that's just beyond where you are, not too far that swallows you whole or overwhelms you. But I find that they're just the way the information flows through that channel in the field is beautiful and magical, and I don't know how it happens. It just happens.
Yes, that is so powerful, and I am devoted to it, and I also feel like it just becomes a beautiful way to connect with divine and everything that's offered, even by your highest self and the Palladians, which have secretly become my favorite folks.
Yes, they're amazing. Yes, so loving, so powerful. Yes,
so powerful. Okay, so I love that. I love that that's coming through. So let's go into the next question, because I feel like we're kind of going in that direction, and it's going to help us like offer everything that we've got. So after hearing like the experience that you had, I always like to bring in the pillars of the Awakened Boss Lady membership, right? And the pillars that we work with are believe, break free, bold, behold, and belong. I don't really do a lot of explanation around it, because the intention is to see which one speaks to you currently, where you're at today, and to understand why. Like, what's your version of that pillar?
Yes. Well, it jumped off the page at me and I knew it was the right one. And it has to do with the current breakdown that I am in this current season of my business. And it's break free, you know. I am in this place where I'm needing to shift and evolve my model in a more radical way than ever before
Mm-hmm.
in order to just accommodate the folks. And, you know, there's a lot of innovation, there's a lot of evolution, there's a lot of risk, there's a lot of change that's on the line here, and creativity and permission. And this break free feels like I want to be free to create the things that I want to create, and also still serve powerfully. And for me, it's about serving powerfully and living in a place of energy richness around the work. And I have to break free from the individual model. I mean, right before I had my daughter, I remember you and I were at a retreat and we were talking and you're like, so when can we do this? And we were in some bedroom and I was like, well, I don't really know how I'm going to do that because I have like 100 sessions. And you're like, well, how about you make this happen? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to happen. I'm just going to keep swimming and keep swimming. And I remember there was just sort of like, we sort of looked at each other like, you know, is there an answer out there somewhere, you know? And
I remember.
Is there an answer? Dun, dun, dun. And we just hold space for that. You know, you hold space for the unknown. You hold space for the not yet formed. You hold space and the quiet trust of watching what is to be and listening to the call and doing the things that you're being asked by spirit. So I'm in that right now. And I've tinkered with it a lot to try to make it fit, and radicalized, you know, expansion and adding in legit more model around that is time. It's time for me. And I don't have an answer to that, right? So for everyone on the edge of their seat, you know, this is a cliffhanger. We have no idea what it means. I mean, I have some ideas, but it really is a work in progress.
I love it because it's very much again, the collective feeling now. I am active. I feel like we're in the same space, but we've kind of felt ourselves kind of traveling together in how things evolve. And for me, I wake up every morning just asking to be shown, which is kind of what you just described. Like I have clarity in my intention, right? Which is kind of like what you described. The freedom, right? I want freedom of time and money. I want to be in service. I want to contribute. I want to be part of this building of the new. I am like passionately devoted to working with women that are just kind of feeling into enough of this, right? And feeling into, you know, I deserve all of it, right? The ones that want to thrive and not just survive, right? During these times, not the next lifetime, this one.
That's right. Here and now.
Yes, making it happen and finding their way and ready to like show up for themselves, because we've spent so much time showing up for others. And it's about surrendering and seeing and being shown and the silent cliffhanger, right? We're all living in it. So, you know, I feel like there's so much vulnerability in you sharing it in this precise way. And I just want to witness how much vulnerability, how much truth telling, how much like just showing up as is and allowing yourself to like be messy, because we're so bought into everything's got to be figured out and everything's got to be, you know, clear and cut, and that's not the case. So awesome.
Yeah. And I find this awkwardness, right? And folks being like, it's great that you have 100 clients, you know, emailing you every day. It's such a great problem to have. And I find again, this moment of like, I should be happy about this. I mean, I am happy about this. I'm serving, but there's like a rubber band around the center of my business. That's, you know, like they're not being served because they're waiting and I'm not feeling fully expanded. It's because of the model. So, you know, it's time. So it's about really being honest and following the beat of your own drum, even though others would tell you that this is a good problem to have. It's also like, I need to listen to how it doesn't feel good to operate in that way. And that I need to think about other ways to expand, to serve people in a more powerful way, in a deep way, and also to be happier in how that happens. Like, you got to trust yourself.
I love the piece that you're saying, and I have a lot of love pieces, right? I always come in with the I love, because I'm pulling out what's really connecting with my heart here.
Yes.
And when you say that, other people would say this is a great problem to have, this is very much the feeling that I've seen when women are in enough of this, where they are seemingly looking like a success, so they've got everything that society would say they want, right? Like the glamorous job or the income or the house, whatever it was that was on your checklist. There is the moment for some where there's that, well, why do I want more if I seemingly have it all? And there's even the backwards guilt, right? Of I shouldn't want more. I should be happy. I should be content. And this is the piece that I'm extracting from what you're sharing, because that way of thinking can keep us in smallness.
That's right. And things that don't feel good.
So that's a very powerful thing. I love that. All right, we're moving along to the next one. You ready?
Yes.
This one is more about like advice, and what would be your best advice to your younger self, the one that was thinking about, well, I should live in the bridge.
I mean, this was really powerful, because I have this, like, in the Akasha, they talk about how all versions of us are living simultaneously right now, that there is no real timeline of past and future. They're all sort of accessible now. And so when I thought about this question, I almost saw myself stepping out of where I am now and sitting down and looking back at me and saying, you needed that advice then. You need this advice now, and you'll need it in the future. And here it is, And it's like, you're already doing it. The thing that you want to be doing, it's already been done. It's doing. You're in it. You're doing it.
Wow.
Right? Like, savor that. Recognize that you are the path. That the path is your destiny. That you don't have to change yourself or work harder or worry about failing or living under a bridge, because you can't miss it. You're on it.
Wow.
I need to hear that right now. I need to hear that every day of my life. It's what I need to hear. It's what I need to hear when I'm bargaining with God in the middle of the night about, will I fulfill my mission? I need to hear that in that moment.
Yeah, that's powerful. I definitely needed to hear that, and will keep it close to my heart, because because in searching for certainty, what's more than knowing this?
Yeah.
What's more than knowing that we're already doing it, that we're already there, that we're just remembering,
Yeah, there's a lot of scrapping, scrapping and doing and fixing and tinkering and planning and organizing and list making that we think we need to do. And I think there's a degree of application and presence and embodiment in the path that needs to happen, which is true, right?
Yeah.
But I think this, like, I have to be different or I have to do something that I'm not doing, is, I think, limited story. Yeah. Limited storytelling about who we think we are.
Yeah. I love that, because that's the truth. And I love us being able to bring this to everyone that's watching, because, I've been doing this for over 6 years now, 7 years, I want to say. You talked about, having your practice for more than a decade, and yet here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are having this experience of wanting to still be shown, wanting to still having to hear this type of advice, and in every stage wanting to kind of remember it and tap back in and get out of our own way. So that's a beautiful thing. Thank you for that. That's a beautiful advice. So the last piece is going to be your quote, girl.
Yes.
What is the quote? Your favorite quote?
One of my favorite, I mean, I'm like a quote fanatic. I have quotes everywhere. They're everywhere. I switch them out. They're on my refrigerator. They're on my bathroom mirror. Brian was like, my partner's like, but how can you choose one? I'm like, oh, I know. I'm just going to lean into what I most need to hear right now and share that, right? So
Okay.
Khalil Gibran has an amazing book called The Prophet. And this
Mhm.
quote is from him. It's all the things in this vast universe exist in you, with you, and for you. All the things in this vast universe exist in you, with you, and for you.
Yes.
Which is really, in essence, what I think we've talked about, which is we are the power. We are the power.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, the answers are within us. If we can quiet down all the things that have come in as we've walked through life and really tap into what is us, we could really connect to the answers that's within us, the purpose that's within us, the inspiration that's within us, all the things that we may be looking for outside of us
Yeah.
are truly within us. I love that one. That's gonna be a favorite. I live through quotes. Like they're a quick way for me to tap in, and I
Yes,
love them.
totally.
I love them. Candice, this has been so juicy, sister. So juicy and
Yes.
so beautiful to share with you. You know how we are busy in our own thing, but when we come together, I think the last time we were on was like during the pandemic, during Black Lives Matter, and we came on and showed some love around that.
Yes.
It's been a
Yes.
while
It
that
has.
we've danced together. So big bow to you, sister.
Thank you. I received
So
that. Same. Back to you.
yes, for coming on. Big hug to the babies and to
Yes,
Brian for me as well.
indeed. Will do.
All right. Take care. Thank you so much.